Welcome to Health Life Design podcast. Today we're speaking with Dully Sayed from Barewolf Men's Aesthetic Clinic. Now, Dully, before we get into what Barewolf is all about, I want to know what a young Lebanese electrician was thinking to leave his trade and start working in men's grooming. Please explain.
So it all started in 2011. My wife at the time and I set up a business in Punchbowl, a hairdressing salon, and we added a laser room, not for myself, but for predominantly the women. And we started to get a lot of interest from men inquiring about laser hair removal. And that's when we saw the opportunity to treat men, preferably by a male. So I saw a niche market there, and at the start it was kind of daunting. It was awkward, like man-on-man service and hair removal. It's a female-dominated industry.
How long ago was this?
2011.
Okay, so not too long ago.
9 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was definitely female-dominated industry, both in the receiving the service and in the service industry.
Yeah, so well, clearly you saw the need for it. I mean, the men were coming to the salon. There was obviously a requirement. So they're
especially in the Middle Eastern community, yes.
Right.
Being very hairy in nature.
So what made you change then? I guess you saw the opportunities as a business opportunity, and to leave a secure situation such as being an electrician to go into men's grooming.
I didn't leave electrical till 2015, September 2015. So I multitasked for many years, and I built the business, working pretty much 18-hour days.
Yeah, amazing. Isn't it interesting how we've changed? I guess attitudes have changed towards grooming, and men, and I think it's probably due to the aging process, I guess, as well as that it's now considered normal, okay, for men to go to grooming salons.
I would say it's more socially accepted. More people started to get into grooming, more men.
Yes.
And initially it was, you were frowned upon. Then it was slowly becoming socially acceptable.
Yes.
Especially through social media.
Yes.
And then, it was a momentum thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you had a Middle Eastern clientele that came into the clinic. Is that where it lies today, or is it all various cultures?
Today it's various, all different cultures. It's great. It's great to see all the men getting involved.
Yeah.
Especially with our Manzillion service, specialty service.
So we're going to get into the detail about what treatments you provide, but I guess initially where you saw the opportunity, what were they coming in for?
Initially they were coming in for, I would say, comfort. Man-on-man service, because it is kind of awkward.
Okay, you need to clarify what that means. Do you mind? Man-on-man service, comfort. What does that mean?
Okay, at the time, walking into any chain clinic, it's predominantly, like I said to you, females.
Right.
Walking in there as a male, it was kind of awkward. That was the feedback I was getting.
Yes.
So as soon as I started to advertise that I'm a male, and here I am, I do hair removal for men, just started happening.
So it was less threatening for the client to come and be treated by a male for a male. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Less awkward, less threatening. We were on the common ground. We had things to talk about. There was no judgment involved.
Yeah.
And it just was not awkward.
Yeah. So when you say Middle Eastern, is that because it was predominantly hair removal? That is the major, and it still is today, as I understand it.
Yep.
Yeah. So Middle East obviously have, I guess, they're hairier, the darker hair.
More testosterone.
More testosterone. Now that I'm sure that other cultures would challenge that.
Artificial and
So I guess testosterone does drive growth of hair.
Testosterone equals hair.
Yeah. So is it an ego thing, or what's the reason that they want less hair?
When you're hairy and you remove your hair, I know for myself, first-hand experience, you can't go back.
Right.
Smooth skin, clean.
Yeah.
Jump out of the shower, couple wipes. It just feels great.
Yeah. So it's a comfort thing, and
there's actually no benefit to hair on the body.
Yeah. Well, I think initially it was designed to protect wasn't it? I guess we are animals, and that's where we've come from.
I would say it was a statement. Men would open up their shirts,
Right.
and make their hairy chest visible.
Well, I'm going back to the ape.
Okay. I was going
Before we had the shirt.
Okay.
So I guess it was to protect the skin, and I guess as we've evolved into who we are today, I guess there's less need for it. And clearly, what you're saying is some cultures still have more hair by culture than others. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said to you, back to that, it was a statement of masculinity.
Yeah.
The more hair you had, the more testosterone you had.
Do you know, in all the years I've done radio and interviewing, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about male hair removal. But look how far we've come. It's a common topic now, isn't it?
It's great for the industry.
Yeah.
It's great for us as business owners, and it's great to see the men getting involved and looking after themselves.
Yeah, yeah. So from that, as I understand it, you've evolved into other treatments as well.
Yep.
What are some of those?
So hydrofacials, cleaning the facial, skin treatments, skin rejuvenation, body treatments, fat reduction.
Fat reduction?
Yes, fat reduction.
What is that?
So we use a device called Onda, which uses microwave technology to dissolve fat cells.
So there is a process that actually does that.
Yes, and this is the least painful way of doing it.
Okay. So when you say dissolves fat cells, do fat cells reproduce? Or what? How do you maintain that?
It's arguable through diet, plenty of water, exercise,
Yeah.
Lifestyle choice.
So it actually destroys the fat cell?
The fat cells present, yes.
Right, amazing. Gosh, a lot of PTs wouldn't want to be hearing about this. It takes them out of a job.
Not necessarily, because they work hand in hand.
Like that. So it is about the whole balance.
So any PTs
of
out
life.
there, hit us up and we'll be able to work with you.
Yeah. So what type of client comes in for fat reduction?
Anybody. I did it on myself, and I did a trial. One side of my love handles and the other side no.
Yeah.
And there was a major difference.
Wow. And what's the time process? Do you have several treatments, or is it a one-off? How does it work?
Yes, there is 2 to 4 treatments recommended.
Right. And then will fat cells reproduce, or does that body part where it's been treated reproduce fat cells again?
Again, it's arguable. They say it doesn't, but you can always gain more body fat.
Yeah. Oh, well, and clearly your diet would do that, but I'm just interested to know whether it actually goes back to the same spot, or does it go to different parts of the body?
Different parts, but it can also gather up in that area too.
Amazing. So it's called Onda. Onda treatment. Wow, I've never heard of that. So you've got the fat reduction process. You have the hair removal.
Yep.
And going back to the hair removal, what's involved in that? Does it depend on colour of hair, amount of hair? How does that process work?
So pretty much it works on the melanin in the hair, so colour. So the darker the hair, the better the result. So unfortunately, men with blonde, red and white hairs, the laser won't pick up the hair.
Wow, so you could not laser my head is what you're trying to say?
No, unfortunately.
It used to be black. Did you know that? It used to be black. I should have come to see you at least 15 years ago.
You would have been discriminated back then.
That's right. That's true. And it wasn't available back then either. So the darker the hair,
it was available, but it was like $1,500 for a full body treatment.
Amazing.
It's come a long way. Yeah.
Actually, that's an interesting question. When did laser hair removal first start?
Interesting story. In the 80s, it was used as a torturing mechanism. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. That's how the actual laser hair removal was discovered.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been used since the 90s. Yeah, but it became commercial, and especially in Australia.
Yes.
In the early 2000s.
Wow, amazing. Yep. So going back to the darker the hair, the better the result. How many treatments can you recommend that it needs to take? Say you're after, say, chest hair, just as an area. You've got a full average coverage of dark hair. How many treatments to remove it?
Again, individual results may vary. Generally for men, I like to give it to them, excuse me, I like to give it to them straight. This is something that it's a maintenance service.
Right.
because as long as you have testosterone in your body, you're going to have some form of hair growth.
Okay. Do you know what? I've never heard of that before. Interesting. So it will keep reproducing.
Yep.
So it's a matter of removing it and then maintaining it.
Correct.
Okay. So really for the rest of your life, you have to go through this process.
Yes, obviously the maintenance decreases as time goes by.
Right. As testosterone reduces, I guess.
Yes.
Right.
And also as the treatments go by. So like I've been doing laser hair removal on myself for 9 years.
Yes.
I do 3 to 5 treatments per year now.
Yeah, but you started when you were 3.
I started.
You're clearly only 12, yeah?
Yeah, well, I look 12, but
you own a clinic. You're the best reference.
I have to lead by example.
Yeah. So you've been undertaking it for 9 years.
Yes.
So you have what you call now as a maintenance program.
When I went from once a month to now once a quarter.
Okay, interesting.
And like I said to you, the way I explain this, especially to the clients, is once you start hair removal,
yes,
it's an addiction.
Right.
You can't go back. It's just the feeling that you get once you're clean.
Yes.
Skin is smooth.
Yes.
You just can't go back. You can't have hair again.
Yeah.
It just feels great.
Yeah, that's a good reference to make. Now you mentioned it's hair removal. It's the Onda fat reduction. You mentioned hydrofacial.
Yep.
What's the hydrofacial?
Hydrofacial is an American company that it's pretty much the leading medical facial treatment in the world. It's a great treatment for hydrating the skin, cleansing the skin, nourishing the skin, and it also makes your skin glow. So, who doesn't want to look young?
Absolutely. And how often can you have that? Is it invasive?
No, not invasive. It's a quick procedure, 3 steps, 30 minutes, and you walk out and you've experienced it, and your face is just fresh, glowing.
Yeah. But how often, when can you have the next one? When's it recommended after you've had the first one?
You can have them every fortnight.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Depends how serious about your skincare you are.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, and part of the reason we're talking to you is that it is men's grooming is much more acceptable these days, and I think it's also because we're an aging community, and what I think is happening. And I'm going to use the C word, which is COVID, and we're in that period at the moment. I think what we're all seeing is that we're all, there's no age. We're all here supporting one another, and we're all working out how we move forward together. And I think age is almost becoming irrelevant in many cases. So therefore, we're conscious of how we look. And in COVID, and I think that you've heard this as well, is that the amount of inquiries to cosmetic surgeons has gone through the roof because people are horrified about how they look on camera for the Zoom meetings. So you must be seeing that result.
Look, everyone wants to look good.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to look younger.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, because of social media, your face is the first impression.
Yes.
That's the first place someone looks.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to look youthful?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, when it comes to facial treatments, it's very important what we do on a day-to-day basis as well. I like to express that. Yes, coming into the clinic for your maintenance is awesome, but I really like to keep at the point where it's what you do on a day-to-day basis that really matters.
Yeah. So what's your advice to some guys out there that are listening to this that they're a bit hesitant? There's still that stigma attached to going into a men's-only salon, being treated by men. What's your advice to allow them to make that initial step?
Look, on that point, our second clinic now, we've opened it up to both men and females, and we have both men and female therapists. So we've opened up that avenue just recently. But I've personally treated over 2,000 men personally, and I know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
They prefer to be treated by a male.
So it's non-threatening, and a male understands a male body. And
100%. It's just, there's no awkwardness.
Yeah.
I guess we can sit there and talk about the footy.
Yeah.
The weekend, we can talk about girls.
Yeah.
There's just no judgment. It's not awkward.
And your salons, clinics, I should say, very male oriented. There's a sense of masculinity around the environment, how you've actually fit them out. So it does make you feel comfortable when you walk into it as well, which I think certainly must make people feel relaxed.
Yeah, look, it's it's designed to accommodate the men.
Yeah.
Because any other clinic you go to,
yes,
it's either female orientated or neutral.
Yeah, yeah. So in the grooming process, injectables have become incredibly accepted on all levels, men and women. And are any of the treatments that you're talking about, do they take the place of injectables, or do you see in the future they potentially will? Or what's your feeling on that?
Look, we have alternatives to injectables, as in Botox, which is the Fractora. It is an invasive treatment for those that don't want to use Botox. But again,
so Fractora, what is that?
Fractora is radio frequency needling.
Right.
So needles penetrate your skin and send radio frequencies deep into your tissues to rejuvenate and stimulate collagen.
Right. Can you reverse aging, or is it more about maintaining where it's at?
You can't really reverse aging per se, but you can maintain.
Yeah.
And hydrating and using skincare is very, very important.
Yeah. Well, we hear that drinking water is incredibly important for all, for lots of different requirements. But
again, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's our motto. Barewolf is not just a brand; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. How did you get the brand Barewolf?
Interestingly enough, Barewolf was actually, I didn't come up with the name Barewolf. Credit goes to Zari. At the time, they were my accountants and advisors. And we're sitting around the table and deciding how can we come up with a name that's different. The name says what it is.
Yes.
And we tossed and turned between a lot of different names, and Barewolf came up.
Yeah.
And at the start, I wasn't convinced. And it took about a week, and I was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
But the logo and all design, that was my idea.
Yes.
That was my vision. And then from there on, everything else has been my vision. The whole brand, the whole idea, the whole concept, it's been the work since 2011, but just I had to do step at a time, building the business in silence for, I would say, 6 years before Barewolf actually was born in 2018.
Right. Yeah, great story. How do I dare mention? Well, I will. How affordable are these treatments?
Funny you asked me that question, because yesterday we had our trainer come from rural, and when I told her what we charge for a full body, she almost fell off the chair. She couldn't believe it.
Positive or negative?
No, because they charge for a chest what we charge for full body.
Wow. Okay.
So that question in Sydney, it's a very, very competitive industry. Competitive industry. Which I'm vocal about it. I think it should be more regulated because there is a lot of rogue and cowboy operators out there coming into the industry and ruining the industry, driving the prices down.
Well, that's what I wanted to allude, or what I was alluding to, I guess, is that how do you know who's credible? I mean, look at retail. Retail is suffering because online is just taking over all aspects of it. So therefore, there are all these spaces available, and every second shop is a coffee shop these days. It's a nail parlor, or it's a massage clinic, or it's the pop-up shop that's got the laser machines and all sorts of advertising. So how do you know you're going into a credible premise?
Look, our strongest form of marketing is word of mouth. We do a treatment, clients blown away from the service, from the moment they walk in to the moment they leave. And then we always get messages saying, man, that was absolutely amazing, loved your service, you guys were friendly, feel great, and you've actually changed the way I want to look at myself and my lifestyle, not just in terms of physical, just in terms of everything, just the mentality. Like, personally, when I built this business, if you walked in, John, I wanted John to leave my present in a better state, mentally and physically. Yeah. And that was my intention, and that's what I drew down to the staff.
Yeah, it's a feel-good experience.
That's what it is. I want the guys to leave and say, that was amazing. From it's all about the ambience, from the smells to the music, to the scenery, the colours, everything.
It's interesting what I will go back to talking about COVID, but how there's this new concept that's happening globally. It's the retail concierge, and it's what we're finding now is, and hence why we're doing this, is to put voice behind brand, and people want to know what's behind the brand these days, and I appreciate you going to the effort to do that, because That's the difference. We want to know. We want to know who Dully is. We want to know what Barewolf is all about. And this is what this retail concierge concept is all about, is putting voice behind online. And that's the movement we've moved towards. So to have that experience when you actually get there as well is so credible.
Look, I believe that the real superheroes in Australia are small business operators.
Yeah.
They're on the forefront, and we're grinding day in, day out, and we're keeping the country afloat in terms of the economy.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Hats off to all the small business operators.
Absolutely, that's why we're here promoting it. Now, tell me, what's the average demographic? Is there such a thing of your clientele?
Look, I would say Middle Eastern, they're especially because predominantly our business is hair removal.
Yeah.
But again, went from very large percentage to now. It's broadening.
Yeah.
It's broadening.
And how long does an appointment, if you're coming in for laser hair removal, I guess it depends on how much of the body you're wanting to treat, but what's the average time you need to allow to come to see Barewolf?
Allow yourself an hour. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the experience.
Right.
It's great.
Enjoy the experience, so it's not painful.
There is some pain involved, but we make it as swift and as pain-free as possible.
So it's bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
A little bit of pain for a little bit of pleasure.
Again, it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So but on that though, we're saying a little bit of pain. Can you define what that experience is like? What does it feel like?
An explosion.
Okay, right. Okay, you're being a politician here.
It's an explosion in the hair follicle.
Okay, so that's the process.
That's the process.
Right. So it's like a pins and needles. Is that the effect, or what is it?
Well, I mean, the hair sits in a follicle.
Yeah.
The laser is attracted to the hair, the melanin, and goes straight down into the follicle, and an explosion happens.
So
and that's how it detaches from the follicle.
Right. Okay. Well, you've certainly,
the hairier you are, the more painful it is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
because that's the bigger the bulb is as well.
Right. And as you have more treatments, is it still the same level of pain, or does it reduce?
Because obviously the hair starts to thin out.
Yeah.
And the actual color, the melanin in the hair as well, starts to fade away, so it becomes gradually less painful.
Right.
The maintenance is not too bad.
Okay. So where is Barewolf?
So our first clinic establishment, number one, is in Belfield, which is in between Strathfield and Belmore.
Uh-huh.
That's why it's called, between Enfield and Belmore. That's why it's called Belfield.
Right, okay.
Bit of history. And Fairfield Heights, our second clinic, which was opened in November.
Uh-huh.
And that's a mega clinic. It's 200 squares and it's an absolute, you've seen it.
Yeah.
It's just great. Fit out's awesome. The machinery that we have there is just, high standard.
It's very top class, I must say. And it as I said, it does make you feel incredibly welcome when you arrive, and non-threatening, which is clearly the message you're trying to send. And having experienced it, I can vouch that that's exactly what you get. So to contact you, your website is
www.barewolf.com.au.
Okay, and that's the best contact for both clinics, yeah?
Yeah, or give us a call on 1300 BARWLF.
Fantastic. So is there a Barewolf number 3 happening?
It's in the pipeline. But due to Corona, COVID, everything's kind of slowed down. We've had to withdraw and a bit of maintenance at the moment.
Yeah.
And let's see where we're going with everything. People are kind of skeptical at the moment coming in to get a service, a face-to-face service. So,
but you're accommodating that, and
look,
you're
pre-COVID, we're very hygienic. You're walking in, and you've been there. You walk in there, and everything's just spotless.
Yes.
We're cleaning all the time.
Yeah.
The bed's always disinfected, regardless.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID,
Yeah.
So
that's a given. That's
a given.
Given.
Everything's disinfected, alcohol wipe. So we're very cleanliness is. I'm OCD.
Yeah.
I have high standards.
Yeah.
So
that's clearly your brand, and that's what it stands for. Dully, it's great to celebrate your success, and I like the way that you've not just got through COVID, you've actually grown and you've evolved. And that's the wonderful thing about some of these businesses through this process, is that it's about how we take it forward and reassess. And congratulations to you and the team, because I can see that that's actually what you've done. So if you want any male grooming out there, but clearly now if you're a female and you want some male grooming. No, that sounded wrong, didn't it? No, if you're a female and want to be groomed by a male, there we go.
Yes, we've opened that door. So in the last 3 weeks, I've treated multiple females.
Yep.
And it's kind of weird because I'm like, well, what are you doing here? And they're like, I just prefer to be treated by a male. I'm like, okay.
Well, clearly, I guess it's whatever's non-threatening for the client. And it's
Again,
all above board. Yeah.
It's about the vibe.
Yeah.
We want people to come in and feel great and leave and feel even better.
Yeah, amazing. Would you please thank Dully Sayed from Barewolf Men's Aesthetic Clinic. And the website, as we said, is where you can follow all the treatments and certainly book online. And you can leave feeling as good as what Dully has said today. Thank you, Dully.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure. You can follow us on social media. Our Instagram account is quite entertaining. And #join the pack.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dully.
Thank you, John.